Hello all and welcome to this edition of Stories from the Road, and this is going to be the Falcons versus Ravens edition, and this is a story from I think about 2012 when I went to see the Falcons play the Ravens in Baltimore. Obviously I'm a big Falcons fan, and so we got tickets to go to the game, my first ever NFL game. And of course, the goal always is to get autographs while you're doing these things. So this is just kind of a short little story about the adventure, and I hope you guys enjoy. We'll get right into it here. So when I was planning this whole thing, I was able to determine that either the hotel that I booked to stay in or the hotel across the street was going to be the one the Falcons would stay in. Unfortunately, obviously I booked the wrong one, but the Falcons were still across the street, which kind of worked out in the end. So we get to the hotel, and we're leaving the hotel to go get some dinner. And as we're leaving, I said to my dad that, I should grab a Sharpie or something because in case we see any Falcons. And he's like, oh, we'll be fine. We won't see any Falcons until tomorrow. So I was like, all right, no big deal. Well, my mistake. You should always be prepared. Lesson number 1. Always be prepared. So we walk out of the hotel and get about 10 steps down the road, and this guy comes up to us and he's asking, for money and stuff. And usually, you kind of just try and keep moving because there's a lot of that down there in Baltimore and stuff like that. So, but for whatever reason, we actually stopped and talked to this guy and gave him some money, and he held us up just enough, and all of a sudden there was these buses and these police cars and all this coming down the road. So we stopped, and I realized that it was probably the Falcons, so I hurried up and crossed the road and got to the hotel where they had stopped because that was the one that I thought the Falcons would be at. And I was standing there, and the Falcons were coming off the buses. There was no guardrail or anything like that. I had gotten there. It was just me, my dad, and one other guy who happened to be an autograph collector, thankfully, and he had a Sharpie and things like that. But we were just trying to get the Falcons' attention. No one stopped for us or anything. Devin Hester waved, but he was the only one to even acknowledge our existence. At one point, I was shoulder to shoulder with Matt Ryan, asking him for an autograph, and he just completely ignored me and just ran into the hotel, basically. So anyway, I got to talking to the other autograph collector, and he says to me, we struck out today, but I'll send you something. Give me your address and an email address, and I'll send you an autograph, because I got a lot of Falcons autographs. He was actually from Georgia, so shout out to that guy. I don't remember his name, but maybe he's in the autograph cave. I don't know. But he was a big Falcons fan, and he ended up sending me a signed Falcons football, which I'll try and post a picture of in the Facebook eventually. But anyway, so he sent me that, so it all worked out in the end, even though I didn't get any Falcons at the hotel that time when they were coming off the buses. Like I said, they all just kind of grabbed their bags and hustled into the hotel. But anyway, so then we are on our way to dinner after striking out at the buses, and we get to the dinner place. We didn't realize it was like a super expensive steakhouse. We just walked into the first food place we saw because we were starving. And then my dad, we walk around the corner and his eyes are huge, and I was like, what? And he's like, those guys over there, they have to be Falcons. They're all dressed up and they look like big football players. They have to be Falcons. And I was like, okay. So we sit down, and we sat rather close to them, and we were watching them. And as the waitress is taking our order, I said, are those Falcons players, And she goes, well, I'm not sure, but I can go over and ask them. I said, well, that's cool. So she goes over and asks them, and she comes back and she's like, yeah, they're Falcons. And I was like, well, do you have anything like a pen or like a receipt paper or anything like that? She's like, yeah, I'll be right back. So she gives me a receipt paper and a pen. This is all we had. Unfortunately, like I said, always be prepared. I learned that lesson the hard way. But anyway, I go over, and it was our fullback at the time, our right tackle, Ryan Schrader, Justin Blaylock, one of our guards, and John Asamoah, one of our guards at the time. And they were all cool, super cool, signed for me, and talked to me a little bit, asked me, how many games I'd been to, where I was from, things like that. Super cool guys. I still have the signed receipt paper. I'll post a picture of that in the group as well. So we got their autographs, and we left the steakhouse, and the next day was game day. So then I brought my jersey and my Sharpie that time, and of course you want to get there early. Pro tip, you get there early, you get into the stadium, you go to the players tunnel, and you get autographs and so forth at the players tunnel. So we were at the players tunnel, and I have my jersey just kind of hanging over the guardrail trying to get autographs. We did get a bunch of them. We got, Mike Tice and Levine Toilolo and some of the other offensive linemen. No real huge names, but a couple names. And Matt Ryan came by, of course, and snubbed me again in typical Matt Ryan fashion. He signed for there was literally me and two other people. Me and my dad and two other people. So he signed for those two other people and then just kept going for me. So I don't know what vendetta Matt Ryan has against me, but it's like the third time that he snubbed me. So, but it is what it is. That's the luck of autograph collecting. So I did not get Matt Ryan, but like I said, we did get like 10 people on a jersey. I'll post the jersey in the Facebook group eventually. It was pretty cool. So that was the autograph collecting, and then of course we had the game, which you've been seeing pictures of this whole time, and Falcons got blown out, which kind of was bad, but the Ravens fans were actually super cool. Nobody really razzed me too much or whatever. The one guy, he actually shook my hand and he said, I know everybody in this section, and I realize that you paid to be here, so we're all going to treat you nice, and I'll make sure of that. So the Ravens fans were super nice to me, and it was an enjoyable experience, even though the Falcons, I believe, lost about 28-6 or something like that. But all in all, an enjoyable experience. Met the 4 Falcons, the night before. That was nice. They couldn't have been nicer. And then I met, a couple Falcons the day of with getting the jersey signed there. Like I said, I'll post pictures of that stuff later on in the group. And but yeah, that was my first NFL experience, and I've had a couple after that, but that will be on another edition of Stories from the Road. But always, pro tip, always go to that player tunnel with your items and your Sharpies before the game. It's the best time to get the players at the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little story, and until next time, thank you, and we will see you Wednesday with